Hello, my beautiful soul. I want you to take a moment right now to just breathe with me. Allow yourself to settle into this space we're creating together, a space filled with love, acceptance, and infinite possibility. There's something so brave about choosing to be here today, choosing to explore what it means to love yourself fully and fearlessly. It takes courage to look within, to open your heart to new ways of being, and I honor you for taking this step. You know, throughout my years of working with people from all walks of life, I've noticed something beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time. So many wonderful souls walk through this world carrying heavy burdens of self-doubt, criticism, and the belief that somehow they're not quite enough. Perhaps you've felt this way too. Perhaps there are moments when you look in the mirror and focus on what you perceive as flaws. Perhaps you've caught yourself speaking to yourself in ways you would never speak to a dear friend. This is so common, so human, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with you for feeling this way. What I want you to know right now, right in this very moment, is that you are not broken. You don't need fixing. You are a magnificent being who has simply learned some patterns of thinking that no longer serve you. These patterns were often developed early in life as ways to protect yourself, to fit in, to be loved. They served a purpose once, but now they may be holding you back from experiencing the full joy and love that is your birthright. The journey we're embarking on together isn't about becoming someone different. It's about remembering who you truly are beneath all the layers of conditioning and criticism. It's about coming home to yourself with the same tenderness you would show a beloved child who has scraped their knee. When we approach ourselves with this kind of loving kindness, something magical begins to happen. The walls around our hearts start to soften, and we begin to see ourselves through the eyes of love rather than through the lens of judgment. I often think about how we've been taught to be so careful with precious things. We handle fine china with gentle hands. We speak softly around sleeping babies. We tend to gardens with patience and care. Yet somehow, we've forgotten to extend this same gentle care to the most precious thing of all, ourselves. Today, we begin to change that. Today, we start treating ourselves as the treasures we truly are. Now, when we talk about self-love, I want to clear up some misunderstandings that often come up. Self-love is not selfish. It's not about thinking you're better than anyone else. It's not about ignoring your areas for growth or pretending you're perfect. True self-love is actually one of the most generous gifts you can give to the world, because when you love yourself fully, you overflow with love for others. Think about a beautiful fountain in a garden. The water must first fill the fountain completely before it can spill over and nourish the plants around it. You are that fountain. When you fill yourself with love, appreciation, and care, you naturally have more to give to your family, friends, colleagues, and everyone whose life you touch. But when the fountain is empty or barely filled, there's nothing to overflow. This is why loving yourself isn't selfish, it's essential. Self-love is also very different from self-indulgence. Self-indulgence might be eating an entire cake because you feel bad about yourself, while self-love is nourishing your body with foods that make you feel vibrant and alive. Self-indulgence might be avoiding all responsibilities and hiding in bed all day, while self-love is honoring your need for rest while also gently encouraging yourself to engage with life in healthy ways. Self-love always considers what truly serves your highest good, not just what feels good in the moment. When we truly love ourselves, we become living examples of what's possible. Others around us begin to feel permission to love themselves too. Children especially pick up on this energy. When they see adults who treat themselves with kindness and respect, they learn that this is normal and natural. In this way, self-love becomes a gift that keeps giving, creating ripples of healing that extend far beyond our own lives. Self-love is also the foundation upon which all healthy relationships are built. When we love ourselves, we don't desperately seek validation from others. We don't stay in situations that harm us because we believe we don't deserve better. We don't exhaust ourselves trying to earn love through people-pleasing. Instead, we come to relationships as whole, complete beings who have love to share rather than neediness to fill. This doesn't mean we become islands unto ourselves. Humans are meant for connection, and healthy interdependence is beautiful. But there's a world of difference between choosing to be with someone because you love and enjoy them, and clinging to someone because you believe you can't survive without their approval. Self-love gives us the freedom to love others from a place of choice rather than fear. As we begin to understand what self-love really means, we also start to notice the voices in our heads that have been working against us. Most of us have an inner critic that seems to be on duty 24 hours a day, ready to point out our mistakes, highlight our flaws, and remind us of all the ways we fall short of some impossible standard of perfection. This inner critic often sounds like a harsh teacher, a disapproving parent, or a mean classmate from long ago. It might say things like, "You're too sensitive," "You'll never be successful," "You're not pretty enough," "You're too much," or "You're not enough." These voices can be so constant that we mistake them for truth, for reality, for our own thoughts. But they're not. They're learned patterns, old programming that got installed in our minds when we were young and vulnerable. The fascinating thing about this inner critic is that it usually developed as a misguided attempt to help us. Perhaps when we were children, we learned that being hard on ourselves motivated us to do better, or that criticizing ourselves before others could do it somehow protected us from deeper hurt. Maybe we absorbed these critical voices from family members, teachers, or society, believing that this was simply how we were supposed to think about ourselves. But here's what's truly important to understand. These critical thoughts affect not just our emotions, but our entire physical being. When we think harsh, critical thoughts about ourselves, our bodies respond as if we're under attack. Our stress hormones increase, our muscles tense, our breathing becomes shallow, and our immune systems weaken. Chronic self-criticism literally makes us sick. On the other hand, when we think loving, appreciative thoughts about ourselves, our bodies relax, our breathing deepens, our hearts open, and healing energy flows through every cell. This isn't just wishful thinking. It's been proven by countless scientific studies. Our thoughts are incredibly powerful, and learning to direct them with love rather than criticism is one of the most important skills we can develop. The beautiful news is that once we start noticing these critical voices, we can begin to question them. We can ask ourselves, is this thought true? Is it helpful? Would I say this to someone I love? Usually, the answer is no. These critical thoughts are often exaggerated, outdated, or completely false. They're like old records that keep playing the same sad song over and over again. As we become aware of these patterns, we can start to respond differently. Instead of automatically believing every critical thought that pops into our minds, we can pause and choose a different response. We can speak to ourselves the way we would speak to a beloved friend going through a difficult time. We can offer ourselves the same compassion we would give to anyone we care about. This process takes practice and patience. We've often been thinking critically about ourselves for many years, so these patterns won't change overnight. But every time we catch ourselves in a moment of self-criticism and choose love instead, we're creating new pathways in our brains. We're literally rewiring ourselves for love, acceptance, and joy. The goal isn't to never have another critical thought about ourselves. The goal is to notice these thoughts when they arise and not automatically accept them as truth. We can acknowledge them with something like, "Oh, there's that critical voice again," and then consciously choose to focus on something more loving and true. As we continue this journey together, you'll discover that beneath all the layers of criticism and self-doubt lies your authentic self, beautiful, worthy, and deserving of all the love in the world. This self has been there all along, patiently waiting for you to come home. Now that we're becoming more aware of those critical voices and understanding what true self-love means, I want to introduce you to one of the most powerful practices I've ever discovered for transforming our relationship with ourselves. It's something I call mirror work, and while it might feel a little uncomfortable at first, it has the potential to completely change how you see and speak to yourself. Mirror work is simply the practice of looking into your own eyes in a mirror and speaking to yourself with love and kindness. I know this might sound strange if you've never done it before. Many people tell me they avoid looking at themselves in mirrors except when absolutely necessary, and even then, they focus only on what they're trying to fix or change. But the mirror can become one of our greatest teachers and healers when we approach it with intention and love. When you look into your own eyes in a mirror, you're connecting with your soul. Eyes truly are windows to the soul. And when you gaze into your own with love and acceptance, you're having a conversation with the deepest, truest part of yourself. This is where real transformation begins, not with criticism or force, but with love and gentle recognition of your own divine nature. Let's start with the very basics. Find a mirror. It can be a bathroom mirror, a hand mirror, or any reflective surface where you can see your face clearly. When you first approach this practice, you might notice immediate resistance. You might want to look away, focus on perceived flaws, or feel silly talking to yourself. This is completely normal. Most of us have been conditioned to avoid really looking at ourselves with love. Begin by simply looking into your own eyes and saying, "Hello, beautiful." If that feels too difficult, start with something gentler like "hello" or "I see you." The key is to speak to yourself as you would speak to someone you care about deeply. Notice what comes up for you. Do you want to look away? Do critical thoughts start flooding in? Just notice without judgment. This awareness is the first step. As you become more comfortable with simply looking at yourself, you can begin to have longer conversations with your reflection. You might say things like, "I love you," "You're doing the best you can," "I forgive you," or "You are enough." At first, these words might feel foreign or untrue. That's okay. You're not trying to convince yourself of anything false. You're planting seeds of love that will grow over time. One of the most powerful aspects of mirror work is addressing yourself by name. There's something incredibly healing about looking into your own eyes and saying, "I love you," your name. This connects you with the innocent child within who has always deserved love and acceptance. When we speak our own name with love, we're healing every time someone spoke it with disappointment, anger, or criticism. The resistance you might feel to mirror work is actually information. It's showing you where the healing needs to happen. If saying "I love you" to yourself feels impossible, that's exactly where to start. Begin with what you can manage. Maybe it's "I'm willing to love you," or "I'm learning to love you," or simply "I see you and you matter." You can also use mirror work to communicate with different parts of yourself. You might speak to your inner child, offering the love and reassurance that may have been missing in your early years. You could address your body with appreciation, thanking it for all it does for you. You might even have conversations with aspects of yourself you're working to heal, speaking to them with the compassion you would offer a friend in pain. Mirror work is particularly powerful when combined with affirmations. As you look into your own eyes, you might say things like, "I am worthy of love. I trust myself to make good decisions. My body is beautiful and strong," or "I forgive myself for past mistakes." The key is to choose affirmations that feel true or at least possible for you. If an affirmation brings up strong resistance, that's valuable information about where your healing work needs to focus. Don't be surprised if emotions come up during mirror work. You might feel sad, angry, or overwhelmed as you begin to treat yourself with this new level of kindness. This is part of the healing process. You're essentially grieving the years you spent being unkind to yourself while simultaneously celebrating the love that's always been available. Allow these emotions to flow through you without judgment. As we deepen this practice of loving ourselves through mirror work, we naturally begin to address the old patterns and beliefs that have been holding us back. This brings us to another crucial aspect of self-love, the gentle art of releasing what no longer serves us. It's important to understand that the critical voices in our heads, the harsh treatment we've given ourselves, and the limiting beliefs we've carried weren't born in a vacuum. They developed for reasons, often as protection mechanisms during times when we felt vulnerable or unsafe. That critical voice that says you're not good enough might have developed when you were trying to fit in at school or please a difficult parent. The belief that you don't deserve love might have formed during a painful relationship or abandonment. Understanding this doesn't mean we need to dwell on past hurts or blame anyone for our current struggles. Instead, it helps us approach our healing with compassion. These patterns were once adaptive. They helped us survive difficult situations, but what served us then might be limiting us now. And it's okay to thank these old patterns for their service while choosing to let them go. Releasing old patterns isn't about forcing them away or fighting against them. Force and fighting are just more forms of violence against ourselves. Instead, we release with love, the same way we might gently help a butterfly that's landed on us find its way back to the garden. We acknowledge these patterns with gratitude for how they once protected us, and then we consciously choose new ways of being. One beautiful way to release old patterns is through a practice I like to call loving dialogue. When you notice an old pattern arising, maybe that familiar voice telling you you're not smart enough, or that you always mess things up, instead of fighting it or believing it, you can speak to it with compassion. You might say something like, "Thank you for trying to protect me all these years. I understand you were doing your best to keep me safe. I love you for caring about me, but I don't need this protection anymore. I'm choosing to believe something different now." This approach acknowledges the positive intention behind even our most limiting patterns while firmly choosing a new direction. It's like updating software in a computer. We appreciate what the old program did for us while installing something that works better for our current needs. Forgiveness plays a huge role in releasing old patterns, but I want to be clear about what forgiveness really means. Forgiveness doesn't mean pretending that hurtful things didn't happen or that they were okay. It doesn't mean you have to reconcile with people who harmed you or put yourself back in harmful situations. Forgiveness is simply the decision to stop carrying the poison of resentment in your own heart. It's a gift you give yourself, not necessarily anyone else. When we forgive ourselves for past mistakes, we're not saying those mistakes were good or that we would make them again. We're simply recognizing that we were doing the best we could with the awareness, resources, and emotional state we had at the time. We're choosing to learn from our experiences rather than punish ourselves endlessly for them. Here's a gentle exercise for releasing old patterns with love. Place your hand on your heart and breathe deeply. Think of a pattern or belief you're ready to release. Maybe the belief that you're not worthy of success, or the habit of comparing yourself to others, or the tendency to sacrifice your own needs for everyone else's. As you hold this pattern in your awareness, say something like, "I acknowledge you, old pattern. You were created from my desire to be loved and accepted, and I honor the part of you that was trying to help me. You are not bad or wrong. You were just trying to protect me in the only way you knew how. But I am growing now, and I'm ready to choose new ways of being that serve my highest good. I release you with love and gratitude, and I open my heart to new possibilities." As we practice releasing these old patterns, we create space for new, loving ways of treating ourselves to take root. One of the most fundamental ways we can express self-love is through how we care for our physical bodies. Your body is not just a vehicle that carries your consciousness around. It's a sacred temple, a miraculous creation that deserves your love, respect, and care. Every single day, your body performs millions of functions without you having to think about it. Your heart beats, your lungs breathe, your blood circulates, your cells regenerate, your immune system protects you. This is happening right now as you listen to these words, and it's nothing short of miraculous. Yet so many of us have learned to view our bodies as enemies rather than allies. We criticize our appearance, ignore our needs, push through exhaustion, feed ourselves foods that make us feel terrible, and generally treat our bodies as if they're burdens rather than gifts. This disconnection from our physical selves is actually a disconnection from our own life force, and healing this relationship is essential for true self-love. Loving your body doesn't mean you have to think it's perfect or never want to improve your health. It means treating your body with the same care and respect you would show any precious living thing in your care. When you love someone, you want to nourish them, help them thrive, and pay attention to their needs. Your body deserves this same level of care from you. Start by simply paying attention to what your body is telling you. Your body is constantly communicating with you through sensations, energy levels, cravings, and feelings of comfort or discomfort. When you're truly hungry, your body lets you know. When you need rest, it sends signals. When you need movement, you feel restless. When something isn't good for you, your body often reacts with tension, fatigue, or other symptoms. The practice is learning to listen to these signals and respond with love rather than override them or ignore them. This might mean eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're satisfied, rather than following rigid diet rules. It might mean resting when you're tired instead of pushing through with caffeine and willpower. It might mean moving your body in ways that feel good rather than punishing it with exercise you hate. Nourishing your body is an act of self-love, but this doesn't mean following the latest diet trend or forcing yourself to eat foods you dislike because they're supposedly healthy. True nourishment means choosing foods that make your body feel vibrant and alive, while also bringing you pleasure and satisfaction. Your body knows what it needs if you're willing to listen. The same loving attention applies to how you move your body. Movement is a celebration of what your body can do, not a punishment for what you ate or how you look. Find ways to move that bring you joy, whether that's dancing in your living room, walking in nature, swimming, yoga, or any other activity that makes your body feel alive and appreciated. Rest is also a form of self-love that many of us need to relearn. In our busy culture, we often wear exhaustion like a badge of honor, as if being constantly tired proves how important and hardworking we are. But your body needs rest to repair, regenerate, and maintain the energy you need to live fully. Giving yourself permission to rest, really rest, is a profound act of self-care. This includes not just physical rest, but also mental and emotional rest. Your mind needs breaks from constant stimulation and worry. Your emotions need space to process and heal. Creating pockets of peace and quiet in your day isn't lazy, it's essential for your well-being. One simple practice for connecting with your body with love is to place your hands on different parts of your body and send appreciation. You might place your hands on your heart and thank it for beating faithfully all these years. Touch your arms and appreciate all the ways they help you embrace life. Rest your hands on your belly and thank it for all the nourishment it has processed. This simple practice begins to rebuild the loving connection between you and your physical self. As you continue practicing these ways of loving yourself through mirror work, releasing old patterns, and caring for your body, you'll begin to notice shifts not just in how you feel about yourself, but in how you move through the world. Self-love isn't just an internal experience. It radiates outward and affects every aspect of your life. As you develop this beautiful relationship with yourself through loving practices and body appreciation, you'll find that one of the most important skills you can develop is the art of creating loving boundaries. Now, when many people hear the word boundaries, they might think of walls, barriers, or ways to keep people out. But loving boundaries are quite different. They're more like the banks of a river that allow the water to flow freely and powerfully in its intended direction. Boundaries are actually expressions of self-love. They're how we protect our energy, honor our needs, and create space for our authentic selves to flourish. When we don't have healthy boundaries, we often find ourselves exhausted, resentful, and feeling like we're living everyone else's life except our own. We might say yes when we mean no, give our time and energy to things that don't align with our values, or allow others to treat us in ways that diminish our sense of self-worth. Learning to set boundaries with love isn't about becoming selfish or uncaring. It's about becoming clear on what you need to feel happy, healthy, and whole, and then honoring those needs with gentle firmness. When you take care of yourself in this way, you actually have more genuine love and energy to offer others because you're giving from a full cup rather than running on empty. The first step in creating loving boundaries is getting clear about what you need and value. This requires honest self-reflection. What activities energize you and what drains you? What kinds of interactions leave you feeling uplifted, and which ones leave you feeling depleted? What are your non-negotiables when it comes to how you want to be treated? These aren't selfish questions. They're essential inquiries that help you understand how to create a life that truly fits you. Once you're clearer about your needs, the next step is learning to communicate them with love and confidence. This is where many people struggle, especially if you've been conditioned to believe that your needs don't matter or that speaking up for yourself is rude or selfish. But there's a beautiful way to honor both your needs and your care for others. When you need to say no to something, you can do it with warmth and kindness. Instead of making elaborate excuses or apologizing excessively, you can simply say something like, "That doesn't work for me, but I hope you find someone who can help," or "I'm not available for that, but I appreciate you thinking of me." You don't need to justify your boundaries or convince anyone that they're valid. Your needs are valid simply because they're yours. Setting boundaries also means protecting your emotional and mental space. This might involve limiting conversations about topics that consistently upset you, choosing not to engage with people who are chronically negative or critical, or taking breaks from social media when it starts affecting your peace of mind. It's perfectly okay to curate your environment in ways that support your well-being. Sometimes boundaries involve difficult conversations with people we love. You might need to tell a family member that certain topics are off limits. Ask a friend to respect your decision about something they disagree with, or let a colleague know that you won't be available for work communications after certain hours. These conversations can feel scary, but they're acts of love. love for yourself, and ultimately, love for the relationship, because healthy relationships thrive when both people feel respected and honored. One of the most challenging aspects of boundary setting is dealing with the guilt that often arises. You might worry that you're hurting someone's feelings, disappointing them, or being selfish. These feelings are normal, especially if you've spent years prioritizing everyone else's needs above your own. But remember that other people's emotions are not your responsibility to manage. You can care about how others feel while still honoring your own needs. It's also important to recognize that some people might not respond well to your boundaries, especially if they've been accustomed to you having none. This doesn't mean your boundaries are wrong, it means they're working. Healthy people will respect your boundaries even if they're initially disappointed. People who consistently push against your boundaries or make you feel guilty for having them are showing you valuable information about the health of your relationship with them. As you become more comfortable with setting external boundaries, you'll also want to create internal boundaries. These are the limits you set with yourself to protect your own well-being. This might mean limiting how much time you spend worrying about things you can't control, setting boundaries around self-critical thoughts, or creating structures that help you avoid behaviors that don't serve you. Boundaries are not set once and forgotten. They're living, breathing agreements with yourself and others that may need to be adjusted as you grow and your circumstances change. What felt right for you last year might not fit who you're becoming now, and that's perfectly okay. The key is to stay connected with yourself and honor what feels true for you in each moment. As you practice creating loving boundaries, you'll find that you have more energy and space to develop daily practices that support your journey of fearless self-love. These practices become the foundation that holds you steady as you navigate the ups and downs of life. The beautiful thing about daily self-love practices is that they don't need to be elaborate or time-consuming to be powerful. Small, consistent acts of love towards yourself can create profound shifts over time. Think of them as love notes you write to yourself each day through your actions and choices. Morning practices can set a loving tone for your entire day. When you first wake up, before you check your phone or start thinking about your to-do list, take a moment to place your hand on your heart and simply acknowledge yourself. You might say something like, "Good morning, beautiful soul. I love you, and I'm grateful for this new day we get to experience together." This simple ritual reminds you that you matter and that your relationship with yourself is the most important one you'll have today. Creating a morning affirmation practice can also be transformative, but the key is choosing affirmations that feel authentic to you. If saying "I am perfect" feels untrue, you might instead choose "I am learning and growing," or "I am worthy of love and respect." The most powerful affirmations are those that feel like a gentle stretch, not so far from your current beliefs that they create resistance, but expansive enough to invite growth. Many people find that journaling is a powerful self-love practice. This doesn't mean you need to write lengthy entries every day. Even spending 5 minutes writing about what you're grateful for in yourself, what you're proud of, or what you're looking forward to can shift your inner dialogue in a more loving direction. You might write letters to yourself, capturing the kind of encouragement and support you would offer a dear friend going through what you're experiencing. Gratitude practices focused on your personal qualities can be particularly healing. Instead of only focusing on external things you're grateful for, spend time appreciating aspects of yourself. You might appreciate your resilience, your creativity, your sense of humor, your compassion, or your willingness to keep growing. When you actively look for things to appreciate about yourself, you begin to see yourself through the eyes of love rather than criticism. Evening practices can be just as important as morning ones. Before you go to sleep, take a moment to forgive yourself for any mistakes you made during the day. You might say, "I forgive myself for not being perfect today. I did the best I could with what I knew and felt, and tomorrow is a fresh start." This practice prevents you from carrying the day's disappointments into your rest and helps you approach each new day with a clean slate. Creating rituals around self-care activities can transform them from chores into acts of love. When you take a shower, you might imagine washing away any stress or negative energy from the day while blessing your body with appreciation. When you moisturize your skin, you can do it mindfully, thanking your body for all it does for you. When you choose what to wear, you might pick clothes that make you feel beautiful and confident, honoring your right to present yourself in ways that feel good. Movement practices become more loving when you focus on how they make you feel rather than how they make you look. Whether you're dancing, walking, stretching, or doing any other form of movement, tune in to the sensations in your body and the gratitude you feel for your body's ability to move. This shifts exercise from punishment to celebration. Feeding yourself becomes an act of love when you choose foods that nourish both your body and your soul. This doesn't mean perfect eating. It means paying attention to what makes you feel good and honoring both your body's nutritional needs and your desire for pleasure and satisfaction. Sometimes the most loving choice is a nutritious salad, and sometimes it's sharing a piece of cake with a friend. Trust yourself to know the difference. Creating spaces in your environment that feel nurturing to you is another form of daily self-love. This might mean keeping fresh flowers in your home, creating a cozy reading corner, or simply making sure your living space feels peaceful and welcoming. Your environment affects your mood and sense of well-being, so creating beauty around yourself is a gift to your soul. Throughout all these practices, remember that consistency matters more than perfection. It's better to do small acts of self-love regularly than to have elaborate self-care routines that you only manage occasionally. The goal is to weave love into the fabric of your daily life, not to add more pressure or things to feel guilty about if you don't do them perfectly. As these loving practices become more natural and integrated into your life, you'll begin to discover something truly magical: the unique light that only you can shine in this world. This brings us to one of the most beautiful aspects of self-love: learning to celebrate and embrace your individual gifts and qualities. You know, one of the most damaging things we can do to ourselves is to spend our precious energy trying to be like someone else. We look at others and think they're smarter, more beautiful, more successful, more talented, or more worthy of love, and we try to mold ourselves into their image. But this is like asking a rose to be a sunflower or expecting a mountain stream to behave like an ocean. Each has its own beauty, its own purpose, its own perfect way of being. You came into this world with a unique combination of gifts, perspectives, experiences, and qualities that no one else possesses. Your way of seeing the world, your particular brand of creativity, your specific way of loving and caring for others, these are not accidents or random occurrences. They are precious gifts that the universe has given you to share. Sometimes these gifts might not feel like gifts at all. You might think you're too sensitive, too loud, too quiet, too intense, too different. But what if these very qualities that you've been taught to see as flaws are actually your superpowers? What if your sensitivity allows you to understand and help others in ways that less sensitive people cannot? What if your intensity brings passion and depth to everything you touch? What if your quietness creates space for others to be heard and seen? The world doesn't need another copy of someone else. The world needs the first and only you. There are people whose lives will be touched and transformed by your unique way of being in the world, but only if you have the courage to be authentically yourself rather than a pale imitation of someone else. This doesn't mean you can't learn from others or be inspired by their qualities. Growth often comes from stretching ourselves and developing new aspects of our personality. But there's a difference between growing and changing yourself to be more authentic versus contorting yourself to fit someone else's mold. One of the most liberating realizations you can have is that comparison is truly the thief of joy. When you're constantly measuring yourself against others, you rob yourself of the ability to appreciate your own journey and celebrate your own progress. Someone else's success doesn't diminish your worth, and their gifts don't make yours less valuable. There's room for everyone to shine in their own way. Building confidence in your unique light starts with honest self-appreciation. What are the qualities that make you uniquely you? What do people often come to you for? What feels easy and natural for you that others find challenging? What aspects of your personality bring joy to your relationships? These clues point toward your authentic self and the special contribution you're here to make. It's also important to recognize that your light might shine differently in different seasons of your life. The gifts you brought as a child might evolve as you mature. The qualities that served you in one phase of life might transform to meet new challenges and opportunities. This is natural and beautiful. You're not meant to be a static being. You're a living, growing, evolving soul, and your light gets to evolve too. Sometimes embracing your unique light means standing out rather than fitting in, and this can feel scary. We're social beings with deep needs for connection and belonging, so the fear of rejection for being too different is very real. But here's what I've learned. The people who are meant to be in your life will love you more, not less, when you show up authentically. And the ones who reject your authentic self were never truly your people to begin with. When you have the courage to let your unique light shine, you give others permission to do the same. You become a living example of what's possible when someone chooses authenticity over approval, substance over surface, and truth over pretense. This ripple effect is one of the most beautiful gifts you can give to the world. As you continue to embrace and celebrate your uniqueness, you naturally begin to make choices that align with who you truly are rather than who you think you should be. This is what it means to live your love story, to make your life a living expression of love for yourself and all that you are. Living your love story means making decisions from a place of self-honor rather than self-sacrifice. When you truly love yourself, you naturally choose paths that allow your authentic self to flourish. You pursue work that feels meaningful rather than just financially rewarding. You cultivate relationships that celebrate your true nature rather than demanding that you shrink or change. You create a lifestyle that honors your values and supports your well-being. This doesn't mean life becomes easy or that you never face challenges. It means that when difficulties arise, you face them as someone who knows their own worth and trusts their ability to handle whatever comes. You no longer need to prove your value to others because you know it inherently. You don't need to earn love because you give it freely to yourself. When you live from this place of self-love, your presence in the world becomes a gift. People feel safer around you because you're not trying to take anything from them to fill your own emptiness. You're not competing with them for worth or value because you know there's enough for everyone. You're not trying to control or manipulate them because you trust in the natural flow of life and relationships. The beautiful truth is that learning to love yourself fully and fearlessly is not just personal healing, it's planetary healing. Every person who learns to treat themselves with love and respect contributes to a more loving world. Every individual who stops the cycle of self-criticism and self-harm helps break generational patterns of pain. Every soul who chooses to see themselves through the eyes of love makes it easier for others to do the same. This journey we've taken together today is not meant to end here. It's meant to be the beginning of a lifelong love affair with yourself. There will be days when it feels easy and natural, and days when you'll need to remind yourself of these truths again and again. That's perfectly normal and human. The key is to keep choosing love, keep practicing these tools, and keep coming back to the truth of who you are. Remember that self-love is not a destination you arrive at once and never have to visit again. It's a daily choice, a moment-by-moment decision to treat yourself with the kindness and respect you deserve. Some days this choice will feel effortless, and some days it will require courage and determination. Both are valid parts of the journey. You are not here by accident. You are not a mistake. You are not too much or too little. You are exactly who you are meant to be, with exactly the gifts you are meant to share, living exactly the life you are here to experience. Your journey to self-love is a sacred pilgrimage back to the truth of your own beautiful soul. As we close our time together, I want you to place your hand on your heart and feel it beating. This amazing heart has been loving you every moment of your life, never taking a break, never giving up on you. Let this be a reminder that love is your natural state, that you are worthy of all the love in the universe, and that the most important relationship you will ever have is the one with yourself. Take a deep breath and know that you have everything within you that you need to live a life filled with love, joy, and authentic self-expression. Trust yourself, love yourself, be patient with yourself, and remember that every step you take on this journey of self-love is a gift not only to yourself, but to everyone whose life you touch. The world is waiting for your unique light to shine. Don't keep us waiting too long.